If you're a guild master and you're looking for the best players in your server, it's quickly accessible by the ranking menu, which we'll bring up in a second. There is a lot of information available to players in Eligium, and there's quite a few ways to filter that information to find exactly what you're after. Lee, if you want to maybe bring up the ranking menu. There we go. So at the moment we're seeing the top level players in the game. You notice that it's 120. When we launch it will be 65, so we're changing the level progression a little bit, making it a bit more gradual. So there's a nice curve to the level. Lee is going through a few of the options in this menu. We can change it by experience points, by training. So depending on what you're trying to find or what type of play you're trying to find, different things will pop up on the screen. So the other feature we've got here is the auction house. In the Eligium, you don't have to go to an NPC in a city. You can just bring it up straight on the screen. It's in real time. You just drag and drop an item into this menu, and it's immediately available to purchase. So it's a really nice feature for players, but it's important to mention that it is separate to the in-game item shop. So there'll be an auction house and an in-game item shop. Eligium will be free to play when it launches with an in-game item shop. So yeah, those two things are separate. Lee, maybe you just want to run us through a little bit of the skills in the game.
Yeah. So in Eligium, the skill system works a little bit differently. Instead of collecting skill points to spend in a skill tree, as you would in some MMOs, you obtain something called skill scrolls, which will unlock the skill for you to use, but to improve that skill and to do more damage using that skill, or more healing or more buffs, etc., you simply have to use it more. So the more you use a skill, the better it gets. And it creates a way for players to play exactly how they want. They don't have to put points into a skill that they're never going to use. So if you, in a skill tier system, if you want to get the best skill, you're going to have to get the ones above it. But the best one at the bottom is going to be the best. But in Eligium, you simply just have to use the skills you want to, and they'll get better. But you also have to consider balancing and making sure that you use enough skills, etc., etc. So it's something that we're really cool, something that's really cool, and we're really looking forward to seeing players use the system. And it's something similar with the item system as well, which Greg will show right now.
Yeah, so the item system is similarly structured in the game. So if players find a skill, as Lee said, that they like, they can keep using it and it will get better as they progress. It's the same with items as well. We like that players in the end game aren't going to have one item that beats all and one skill that is the most powerful. So players are hopefully going to have different skills and different items that they're going to use throughout the game, improve their stats and make them better. So items, like skills, the more you use them, the better they'll get. But obviously, that would be a little bit unbalanced if there wasn't a downside to it. The downside is that, yep, they do have health points and health stats. So the more you use an item, it will become damaged. And if you keep using it without repairing it, it will be unusable. So that would really suck. So keep an eye on your items. Make sure they're not going to become unusable. It's worth mentioning there is also, of course, a crafting system in the game, and you can collect certain items from monsters and boss monsters in dungeons. And you can also buff your items on something called a soul circle. Which, Lee, do you mind bringing up the soul circle? And you collect rune stones in the game, and by dropping it into certain places on this soul circle, you can give your items certain buffs and improve them and give them certain stats. So that's a nice little feature in the game. This is our crafting menu here. Perfect. So Lee's running through. We had a mount before, so maybe let's grab a mount and jump on it. There we go. So as Lee is going to show us now, you can perform combat moves on the mount, which we really like in the game. If you look very closely, you might be able to see our pet that's trailing us. It's a little green lizard that's running on the floor. The pet we have at the moment is an aesthetic pet. You can also get pets that fight and heal you during the combat, which is really cool. So you get eggs, and you can go through a rearing process, and depending on what items you give your pet, will give it certain buffs and certain characteristics in combat. If you give it lots of health potions, for instance, in the rearing process when it's just been born, it will heal you in combat. If you give it certain other potions like vigor potions, it will also attack monsters. So you can effectively have an army of 3 as you're progressing through the game without any other players being around you. You can be on your mount, and you can have your pet aiding you in battle, which we think is really cool. And as you may have noticed, as we're bounding along on the screen, we're about to enter a dungeon. And it's in this dungeon we can show off a few other features which Lee is about to talk about.
Yep, so something that I find really cool myself is the fact that you can change the camera mode for the game. So we have a 3D mode, as I've been using for the moment, but we've also got our more isometric view. So your traditional isometric dungeon crawler view, gonna be a big favorite for the dungeons. I know it certainly is for me. And we've also got something that's in between. So we have an isometric view, but we've also got limited camera control as well. So that's something that's pretty cool. And if you're into dungeon crawlers, this is something which you can use in dungeons and out of dungeons as well.
Feel at home.
Yeah, exactly. So, back to you.
Cool, so as Lee's going through the dungeon, I'll quickly mention the social features in the game. We think it's going to be really popular with players who like their PvP features. So players can obviously create guilds and friend lists in the game. And the guild wars that will be in the game will be 300 versus 300, so they'll be pretty huge. Guilds will also have houses, and they'll fight in neutral territories. So the PvP in the game will be pretty stunning. I'm just imagining 300 pandas versus 300 pandas and thinking what that looks like. It would look pretty crazy. There's also siege wars in the game. Defending players will have their own castle. They'll have defensive weapons they can use, and the attacking army will have siege weapons. So these will also be pretty huge. As I mentioned at the start of the presentation, there'll also be faction wars. Open PvP at the moment, of course, there is a duel system. But we're also working on another element of the open PvP system, which we'll be announcing a little bit later in the year, probably around the closed beta announcement date. So yeah, the PvP system in the game is pretty huge. To sum up Eligium, in its first GamesCom outing, it is a feature monster. Hardcore MMO players who love their PvP, I think will really like Eligium. As I said earlier in the presentation, if you have a favorite feature in another MMO, the chances are it will be in Eligium, and it will be there at launch, which is pretty cool. And that's not to say that for newbies either it will be too difficult to get into. We're really working on the level system at the moment and how long it takes to reach the max level cap, which is 65. And it should be pretty gradual. It's going to ease players into the game when they start. It won't be too off-putting at all. So Lee's going to kill a few more people here. Doing a good job. Fantastic. Cool. So we're nearing the end of our presentation. Thanks for watching. Just to sum up, Eligium is going to be released in Q1 2012. It will be available in German, English, French, and Polish languages. Sorry, there's no Czech at the moment. But yeah, we're looking forward to showing off more of the game. Thanks for watching.